Good morning, guys. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody freaking doing? I hope you're doing really, really well. It's our top 5 of the year. That's what today's video is. Top 5 books of the year. And let me tell you, this is really freaking hard. When you read 170 books a year, picking a top 5 is critically difficult. This was damn near impossible. That's all I'm going to say. Damn near impossible. But I somehow managed to do it. 5 of my favorite reads of the year. Jumping in. Also, it's not going to be super aesthetic. I'm not going to have the book here. Next year, I promise to have a better video with the actual book. If you're new here and you don't know, I am in the process of moving. I am like weeks from like house sale purchase type of situation. So I apologize for the lack of having my physical books here in front of me. I would love to have my physical books here in front of me. I just don't, and I apologize for that. But I will tell you what they are, and we'll go through it. So my number 1 book of the year, it should be no surprise to anybody who watches my channel regularly. Maybe if you haven't been watching lately, because I just read it in, was it October or November? In November. It was my last book of November. So it was nearly not in 2024. But my favorite book of the year is Callie Hart's Quicksilver. I think it is fresh and fun, and it is romantasy at its height with all of the tropes without being annoying about the tropes. I read a lot of romantasy, and I get sick of the tropes too, you guys. I absolutely freaking do. But this did it really, really well. Like, it just, I never felt like it was being tropey, if that makes any sense, while still having the tropes that you look for out of a romantasy novel. It felt fresh. It felt new. It was good. It was 5-star plus. I literally could not stop thinking about it when I finished reading it. Kingfisher quickly became my book boyfriend. And yeah, Quicksilver just is at that top tier, guys. I absolutely ate it up and absolutely loved that book. I have not felt that way about a book recently since I first read Fourth Wing the first time and I was introduced to Xaden. Like, that was kind of the same feeling I got. Number 2. Another recent read. I wonder if I'm making this too, like, recent of reads, because 3 of my 5 I read either at the end of November or in December. But sometimes it's what's fresh in your mind, right? Sometimes that's just what you remember and also what you love. But I did go through all of my 5-star plus reads and say, am I 100% sure that this was my favorite? And I agreed. So my number 2 is Sen Lin Yu's Manacled. Now, I was hesitant to put this on the list because by the time this comes out, you may not be able to read it in its original form anymore. I have heard that 1231, they are taking it off of Archive of Our Own because it is being published as The Alchemist in its own non-fan fiction form. I will also be reading that, but Manacled in its original form was a work of art. It was bloody beautiful, and I have never read any Hermione, I think is what they call it, Draco Hermione fan fiction before. I will be reading some in 2025. I don't have high expectations like I did for Manacled because I had really high expectations for Manacled and it met every one of them. That book broke me at the end. It was beautiful. And I cannot believe that this person just wrote this as a fan fiction. and never has profited from it. I cannot wait for this author to get her just deserves. Manacled is my number 2 book of 2024. My number 3 book of 2024 also was read in December. It is the epic book number 5 from Brandon Sanderson, Wind and Truth. Of course I had to give it to Wind and Truth. How could I not? Wind and Truth literally is the end of an era. It is the end of the first era of Stormlight Saga. This is a series that I discovered in, I think, 23. Might have been the tail end of 22, but I think Stormlight was 23 for me. I think Warbreaker was 22, but I digress. This was a series I discovered in 2023. Binge read everything I could get my hands on in the Stormlight world. And then finally got the book 5 this December. And it lived up to the hype. It was wonderful. It was high fantasy at its highest. It is just a really good story about a lot of character development and sacrifice and journey before destination. It is just a really, really good book. These books are lengthy. They are beefy boys. Do not start the Stormlight Saga without knowing what you're getting into. There's a reading order with a whole Cosmere of intertwined novels, but I do recommend doing your research if you are looking for a lengthy, all intertwined group of books. Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere novels are fantastic. So, Wind and Truth gets my number 3 for the year, of course. How could it not? Anybody who read it this year will probably have it in their top 5. Now is where we get to get hairy. The last 2 slots when I read so many wonderful books this year. I knew what my favorite was going to be. I knew Wind and Truth was going to be on here because it just felt like this big epic finale of this first saga of Stormlight. I knew the second I read Manacled that I'd never read anything like this or made me feel like this, and it was going to be on here. But this 4 and 5 slot really struck me as difficult to fill because I had so many fantastic books this year. 170 of them, you guys. But I did make 2 selections to fill my 4 and 5 slot. At number 4, I gave it to Ceci Robinson's Bloodguard. The reason for that is that I almost declared it my favorite book of the year. It was also romantic-y, and it felt fresh in a way. There was a little bit more tropiness to it than Quicksilver, which is why I gave Quicksilver the number 1 slot over Bloodguard. But the Roman aspects were fun and fresh that I had not read before. I was really in my Roman era when I read this because I was also watching Gladiator 2. And it just was the vibe. It was the vibe. I can remember being obsessed when I read it. I really liked the characters in it. I really like what was done. And I just think that it's top tier. It is really top tier romantic-y, easy to read, and fun. Number 5. This was probably the hardest. I keep saying this is really hard. Number 5 was probably the hardest because I could have put dozens of books here. I could put any of Abby Jimenez's Part of Your World series here. I literally discovered Abby Jimenez this year, and it rocked how I read romantic comedies because now I can't do romantic comedies unless there is that much heart in it because she makes it funny, but she also makes you fucking cry because there's so much heart in her characters. I could have put Heavenbreaker here. It was my favorite for a really long time this year. I love the intense, fierce, revenge and rage-filled FMC. She is out to kill everybody, and she does not care and she's got the abilities to do it, and it really is well done. And if you like mechs and mech fighting, Heavenbreaker by Sarah Wolf is for you. It is really good space mech warrior female main character fighting to kill everybody for revenge. That is the best way to describe Heavenbreaker. It is phenomenal. Flame and Shadow. House of Flame and Shadow could have easily gone in this number 5 because when I read it, I was obsessed. Obsessed. Rune and Lydia's story arcs and character arcs were so incredible. If you don't know what House of Flame and Shadow is, it is book 3 in Sarah J. Maas's Crescent City series. Easily could have gone in my number 5 spot because I love those characters of Sarah J. Maas's work. I feel like I am most attached to the Crescent City characters. I've read A Court of Thorn and Roses. That's probably my number 3. I'm not going to lie to you. Though I do love Nesta and I do love Elaine, and I'm really excited to see Elaine's story. Like, I really am excited about Elaine's story. So, House of Flame and Shadow could have gone at number 5 for me, but I didn't. Those were all runners-up. I also read my first Elle Kennedy and Graham Effect. Wow, that is a very rom-com light sports romance. It opened a door for me, so I could justify putting Graham Effect at number 5, but I didn't. My number 5 is A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. That book is whimsical and beautiful and mysterious, and it is gothic fiction at its top tier. And I say that because I read a lot of gothic fiction this year, more than I've ever read before, and I think I DNF'd or 1 or 2 stored every single thing except A Study in Drowning. A Study in Drowning kept my interest and kept me invested. I love that book, and there are so many quotable moments and lines from that book. A Study in Drowning is just top tier to me. It just is. I think that it's beautiful. It is YA, so I think that a lot of people might be hesitant because of that. Don't. It is very mature themes. It is dark academia. It is gothic fiction. A Study in Drowning is phenomenal, guys. I really, really passionately loved that book this year. So that is my top 5 for the year. We have Quicksilver coming in at that number 1 spot. We have Manacled easily taking the number 2. Honestly, probably these two could have fought and duked it out. Wind and Truth. It just was epic and a great end to the first saga. I think I may be having a stroke. I'm not, but I keep blanking. My number 4 pick was Ceci Robinson's Bloodguard. So freaking good. Love the Roman time frame. It was wonderful. It was almost my top pick for a while. And my number 5 is A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. Whimsical, beautiful. If you like Tress of the Emerald Sea, you will love A Study in Drowning. Read any of these 5 and you will be in good hands. With that being said, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for caring about my top 5 picks of the year. I hope that you are having a magical year. And I have high hopes for 2025 for me and for you. So thanks again for watching, subscribing, and sharing, and all of that stuff. And I hope you have a great rest of your year.